I'm Dhrubo, Jyoti, and I'm from New Delhi, India. It's been this really kind of exhilarating run almost through New York. In I don't think I would have. I mean, even if I'd stayed here for a year, I don't think I would have gone to half the number and kinds of neighborhoods that I went to. Even eaten like a. I think one of the great strengths of the fellowship is that you see it control of your life, and I think I know that I struggle to do it, and I often felt like, oh my god, how can I do this, or how can I not have any say on what I'm doing, and it's this kind of really new experience where you entrust 30 days of your life to somebody, and it's rewarding, not just because you get to experience things that new things, and go to new neighborhoods and eat new kinds of food and meet new kinds of people, but also that it's this kind of profound experience for yourself, because or for myself, because it really makes you think about what it is that you felt so controlled about your life, and what are the things one could have done if maybe you were not so rigid about these are my likes and these are my dislikes and these are the places I like to go to and these are the things I like to eat. Because a lot of the activities that I thought I would suck at and I would hate would actually really great. And I mean, composting, for example, when I went to, I thought, oh my god, this is going to be the worst day of my life. I'm going to be like shoveling dirt for 4 hours in the cold, and it was one of the best activities, and it opened up this really beautiful neighborhood that I unfortunately have not been able to go back to because it is so far. But I mean, this kind of dramatic shift, it's just really taught me how to not prejudge outcomes. Yeah.
I'm curious kind of what some of your biggest challenges were this month. And I could talk about journaling, but I also want to
no, I think it was, I think I would have said it was journaling, but it was definitely aerial yoga.
Great answer.
If you had told me at the beginning, or maybe over the phone when we first spoke, that you were going to suspend me halfway on a kind of piece of silk cloth from the ceiling, I would have probably not made it to New York.
That's why we don't disclose all the information. But
yeah, but I was there, and I actually had another fellow, somebody who had kind of put me with and thankfully she was also very wary about doing it. So we felt like we were the class had a group of backbenchers, and so we were happy there. And on a Monday at 11:30 in the morning, I was suspended from a silk rope from the ceiling.
So I'm going to take us back kind of to when you first learned about the fellowship, and kind of what stood out to you about what we were asking and inviting you to do, and kind of like, yeah, where you were at that particular moment.
I think it really seemed unreal because most fellowships have or residencies have a very strict and well-defined clause tied to productivity. So they want you to produce a body of work or finish something or present something, submit something at the end of 1 month or 2 months or whatever. So it really seemed unbelievable that there was no productivity tied to this. So I think that was the first thing that I thought about the fellowship, and what made me think. I mean, and it really throws one off because usually one is used to, okay, at the end of the fellowship you have to produce a short story or you have to produce an interview or a piece of art. And I think for me, it didn't feel real that you could just be in a city and experience it. and people were not expecting you to gain something kind of tangible out of it. So I think, yeah, that was my first impression.
And we always ask, and I remember this during our interview, kind of like, why is this a good time for you? And why was it?
I think it's just, this was, I mean, I've been kind of working in New Delhi for about 7 years. I'm a journalist, so, and I cover Indian elections and politics, which is a very consuming profession, so which means that I'm on the road a lot of the times. I'm constantly thinking about work, and one of the kind of downsides to the news business is that one is wired, so you constantly think about news, you want to catch up on news. If you're doing something else, you want to keep yourself updated, you're looking at your phone, you're watching TV, etc. And it is one of those things where it is very, very difficult to disengage, because you also feel like, oh, have I missed out on this really important thing that has happened? And so it has been difficult for me to, I mean, not just try other things, but even give myself time, because you constantly feel the pressure of trying to remain online. And I think, which is, I think, the primary reason why when I saw the fellowship, and I saw that for the first time in many years, there was nothing kind of tied to productivity at the end of it. I think that was the first thing that attracted me to it. And the reason I thought it was a good time for me is because I was finally getting an opportunity to kind of pull back and kind of spend some time with myself.
Do you feel like that this month has kind of done that for you?
I mean, I haven't checked Indian news at all, so I think for the first 3 weeks it was just because the schedule is also consuming. So one is doing between 3 and 4 activities a day. So there's usually very little time other than to think about the next activity or to plan your day around subway delays. So I think it was only the 3rd week that I suddenly felt like I knew nothing about India at all, because I had just not kept up with any news in the past 21 days. It helped me also in the sense that I was able to give myself time to sleep, time to read, time to just sit and not do anything. It gave me time to, and because a lot of it was not tied to kind of tangible outcomes, it helped me to, so even when I had a couple of free hours, I could go to the park and sit, or say if I was in a neighborhood and I knew that there was something that I wanted to see, I could give myself the time to go see that thing instead of thinking, oh, can I finish this work in these 2 hours instead? I think a lot of the things that I've tried with the activities or even without have been because of the anonymity that a new city has given me. People don't know me here. I don't have, I have no expectations tied to a job or to a social circle, so I'm able to try things that I would otherwise have maybe not done because of the fear of censure, or just kind of felt like, oh, this doesn't tie into my usual life. I think the anonymity also helps in kind of just giving yourself the space to, say, go for a walk at night. And not worry about whether you could have spent that hour more productively. It is also helpful because I think one of the things that I have really kind of admired about the city is that it's helped, that it is possible for people to, I mean, it at least has been possible for me to just walk around, see things, explore without, I mean, other than a couple of instances, has not been difficult.
Yeah, how was journaling for you? Because I feel like maybe there's been a shift of, like in the beginning, it felt like something that was like hard to overcome, or like maybe the inner critic, or yeah, something between the writing and the posting. And then now, I don't know how you feel about it.
I think I would write and then I would delete and then I would think, oh, this can't go out. Because I think for many years I've been trained to professionally write, and so it's intimately tied with money, with productivity, with how I'm going to be perceived as a result of this writing, and it was difficult for me to kind of break out of that mold because I think I tied a lot of self-worth to what I was putting out and what I was kind of giving out to the world. So it took me a lot of time to convince myself that it was not about self-worth, it was not about consumption even, and I think that's why, even though I would write and then I would think, oh, this is not good enough, and then I would delete it. And the second thing was that I'd been kind of always been trained to write in this more formal tone, in a way that is, and to write more generally about like impersonal things, like not about myself, like about the world, about affairs, about politics, etc. And I think I struggled with flipping the gaze. In a way that I think I didn't want. I mean, it can be difficult to articulate vulnerability, and I was also feeling really kind of strange in a new city. I was faltering at the in odd everyday things that I would otherwise not even think about in Delhi. What train to take? What time should I go? What should I wear? How will it be cold? Will it not be cold? So and these kind of everyday decisions that I was making that I had completely kind of not thought about back in Delhi, and I think a combination of that was making me feel overwhelmed, and I was taking it out on the writing because I was like, oh, if I'm overwhelmed, then this is not good writing, and that it didn't need to be good writing actually, but yeah. So I think that was what was going on. I think, and it was only after the first 2 weeks almost that I felt like I could write and put it out there, and it would not be, and people were not waiting to read it and then tie my worth with it or say, oh, this is good writing, this is bad writing, this should have been better, and that it was not intimately tied to how the language is or what the kind of writing is, and so it took me time to kind of strip away these layers of productivity oriented thinking that I had kind of tied to writing, and after that actually I've been able to think about writing the journal in shifting tones in different ways, and not be married to a more formal structure, write as I'm feeling like, and so in that way it has been liberating.